You do a lot with this recipe too, like building on it, right? I'm trying to give you a segue.
Yeah.
Try that again. Do that again.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, I'm Zane and welcome back to the Dr. Yum Kitchen for another episode of Cooking on Your Own for the First Time. Today we're going to be talking about bringing a bit of home and home cooking when you move out on your own. So for today, I've got some special guests. If you haven't guessed by now, this is my mom, also known as the Dr. Yum. And I also have my grandma with us here today. Everyone calls her ChiChi around here, so feel free to call her ChiChi, even though you probably aren't meeting her because you're on the camera. Comes from a Sinhalese word for achi and my inability to pronounce words at a young age. So now we have ChiChi.
Hi everyone, I am Zane's mom, and I have to say, ChiChi and I are so excited to be on this series. We have been watching like super fans, and we're so proud of Zane for all the great cooking that he's done, and we hope you really enjoyed this series.
I'm ChiChi. I'm Zane's grandmother and Dr. Yum's mother. I'm so excited to be here to do this program.
So for today's episode, we really want to talk about, even though that you're moving out on your own, you can still bring a piece of home with you in terms of cooking. So to open up the video, do you guys want to talk about like a favorite food memory from childhood? For me, the other half of my family is from Arkansas, so sometimes Thanksgiving can get a bit crazy where we have the Sri Lankan side of my family where we're making curry and hoppers, and then southern side of my family, we've got all sort of like biscuits and gravy, fried catfish. So one of my favorite food memories is when I was little, just in Arkansas, Grandma does chicken and dumplings, like cutting up the chicken, rolling out dumplings, and then you cut it up, get the Crisco. It's not exactly the healthiest, but it's just a good memory of everyone kind of cutting up these, throwing it into the crock pot. You have anything?
Yeah, so like you said, I grew up in a Sri Lankan family, and so we made a lot of different Sri Lankan foods. And I don't think I appreciated them so much when I was little, but I do now. And looking back, I really loved making this very traditional Sri Lankan dish called hoppers, which we're going to show you how to make in a little bit. It's just next level delicious.
Well, and my kids and my grandkids, they all love the hoppers. In fact, my little granddaughter calls it ChiChi's beautiful palm.
Yeah, pang means bread in Sinhalese, so
Yeah.
it's ChiChi's beautiful bread.
Yes. So I have memories of my grandmother making hoppers in my traditional home back in Sri Lanka, and we didn't have gas stoves, electric stove. It's all cooked with wood stove. And I used to sit on the floor and watch her make it. And as she was making, I would eat it. And it was a wonderful memory to remember. Me eating hoppers at like 6 in the morning, sitting on the floor.
So for today, we're going to be preparing some traditional Sri Lankan food. And as we're doing this, we want to talk with you guys about different ways to bring those home recipes and also that home taste to wherever you're going on your next journey. Nothing beats like just a home-cooked like bowl of what you grew up eating. You might have a recipe. You might be able to make a recipe, but there's usually some tips and tricks that your family members might use. So one of my favorite things is to sous chef or just to shadow a family member and watch how they cook it, just to see maybe they're toasting the spices, maybe they're beating the egg a little bit more than you thought. So that's what we're going to be doing today while ChiChi prepares tomato curry, and I'll be shadowing and learning some tips from her. And you guys might too.
I can say that there have been so many times when I have tried to make ChiChi's recipes, and she says it's a handful of this and it's a pinch of this. And so really just watching her is better than a recipe, because sometimes the recipe isn't really a reflection of reality of how she makes these amazing dishes.
So we just changed up our setup a little bit. We've got an electric walkout. ChiChi already put some coconut oil in it, which is melting right now. And I'm going to let ChiChi take the stage, and she's going to instruct us on how to make tomato curry.
Now the oil is being heated up, and I would add the ginger and garlic and the curry leaves in it. And also like half teaspoon of fenugreek.
Do you want me to just dump all of this in?
Yeah.
Or, okay. All of it?
Yeah, cinnamon too, yes.
That's her teaspoon. Look at her teaspoon. See? I told you? Her teaspoon. It's not really a teaspoon, it's her hand.
Yeah, like a half a teaspoon.
Right.
Which goes back to, if you really want to capture a family recipe, another good idea would be to just videotape.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're doing today, videotape, so you can see, exactly all the nuance that's happening.
So increase the heat,
Okay.
because once this oil gets heated, all the aroma of the spices come out, and it's very pleasant. Now we can put the.
Just a question about some of the ingredients. Where do you get like your curry leaves and fenugreek and like cinnamon, like the cinnamon sticks?
Where the cinnamon sticks, you can get it in the grocery store, even Redmond Service. But these cinnamon sticks I brought from home. Actually, when I went to visit my aunt, my mother's ancestral home, they have cinnamon growing around the house, and she got someone to scrape it and then feed it and put it in the sun. But at the end of the day, it was ready for me to bring home, bring it home. And the curry leaves, I have a curry plant in my backyard, growing in a pot, which I take inside the house, inside the basement, when it gets cold. So this is one of the leaves I'm using.
Maybe we need to give Zane a curry plant
Yes.
for
Yeah.
his college dorm.
Yeah.
So he
That
can
would be
really
great.
do this authentically.
One of the things that I was thinking about was that for not all recipes you can find all the ingredients at like your grocery store. I know that what we have an Asian market, which is really nice, where you can get specific types of things. So for moving out on your own for the first time, one of the things that you can explore is if you have any like international markets, like a Hispanic market or an Asian market, where you might be able to get more specialized ingredients for that kind of home cooked taste. Because you can't find everything at the grocery store. You aren't going to find like ancient Sri Lankan cinnamon at your local grocery store, or like a curry plant at like.
Placed by a relative and baked in the sun.
And my aunt always used it as a bed freshener. She would be chewing something, and I say, "What are you chewing?" "Oh, it's cinnamon, and it makes my breath fresh."
There you go.
So anyway, as this is getting cooked, it becomes like okay. Then I add,
Do you want a teaspoon?
yeah.
Rare clip of ChiChi measuring something.
I know. We're forcing her to use actual measurements.
She didn't even use it all. She like measured out the whole thing and just used a little.
This is how I do it.
Oh my word. Okay.
It's
Just
more
follow
of a
the
yeah.
recipe on dryum.org.
So we've got
This-
turmeric, chili powder. There was curry powder.
Whoa. Okay.
And you can see the great yellow color that the turmeric gives.
Yeah.
Turmeric is definitely a staple in our household for all sorts of reasons. Cooking, medicinal. I've definitely many times have been offered the spoonful of honey and turmeric as a cure for anything.
All things.
So
ever.
good.
Especially as good.
And now we can
Tomatoes.
tomatoes.
Okay. How many tomatoes?
That's about 5 millimeters.
Okay.
5 millimeters. And I would put some salt.
Mm-hmm.
This up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe about a teaspoon, and salt to taste. And I heard somewhere that when you're using turmeric, you have to use a little bit of pepper too, because it has the body absorb the turmeric. Okay,
Nice.
nice. And now we let it cook for a while, maybe 10-15 minutes.
One thing I learned a lot from South Asian cuisine is thoroughly flavoring vegetables, which I think we talked about in a previous episode, about how you need to treat your vegetables like you treat any sort of meat, where you very heartily season it. And that's something that's used because in a lot of South Asian countries, there aren't as many meat products being used. A lot of people don't eat beef. A lot of people are vegetarian. So this kind of helped me learn of ways to flavor vegetables and make them a little bit more interesting. Because you don't want to just eat a carrot by itself. I do eat carrots by themselves, but like that's not a good example. But this is, yeah. spices. So we're gonna add coconut milk now.
Yeah.
Be generous with that coconut
Oh,
milk.
this is good coconut.
I know.
Is this your favorite brand?
Not really, but it looks so good. It looks so good.
Not really, but
Yeah, but it's really, but it's very thick and very
He has
good.
a particular brand that he loves.
Yeah. But this is good. Maybe a little bit more of it. And now let it cook. A little bit more. Okay. For like 5 minutes.
So it's just kind of simmer and
Yeah.
stew.
reduce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tomatoes are gonna break down.
Yeah.
So our curry's been cooking for a little bit and it's looking really, really good. We're just gonna give it a taste just to make sure. A lot of our measurings were a little not exact, so we gotta make sure. We're gonna taste for salt a little bit. We have others. Do you want to taste or?
No.
You're confident? Yeah, that's good. It tastes like home.
Yeah. Now I am going to add a little sugar. This is like 2 teaspoons of sugar.
Okay.
And that will make it.
Mhm.
That looks good.
Mm-hmm.
You want to taste it now?
I'll taste. Yeah, I can do it. I can do it before and after too.
Yeah.
It's a little hot. Yeah, you can taste the sugar.
Yeah.
It makes it more like balanced.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you build on this recipe a lot, don't you?
Yes, I do. Sometimes I boil eggs and hard-boiled eggs, cut it in half, few of them, and I add it onto that. And that makes a complete meal because there's vegetables and onions and all that, plus proteins from the eggs. And if I want to add any green leafy vegetables, I put a whole bunch of handfuls of spinach, baby spinach at the end, and then take it off the stove, cover the pot and take it off the stove. Or else tofu, cubes of tofu. That makes it a complete meal. And just over rice, it has everything you need in your diet.
Yeah. I think one of the things that you told me was adding a can of chickpeas
Yes.
is really easy. And you can just have a can.
Yeah.
I know I can make this and then I can just dump a can of chickpeas, serve it over rice, complete meal, as you said. Have a couple different servings of it.
Yeah.
Leftovers, because this gets better.
Yeah.
Curries usually get better the second day.
So now we're over here by the stove and I'm going to be filming ChiChi as she walks us through how to make hoppers.
I am going to be making hoppers today. And hoppers is made with this batter that has rice, coconut milk, yeast, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of flour, 1 egg, and some salt. I usually use jasmine rice because it's softer and it can be ground very easily. I soak the rice and soak it for like 5-6 hours, and then rinse it and put it in the blender. And I have a nice blender, and it grinds it so well with a little bit of water, maybe half a cup of water. I grind it and it will be thick at that point. And then I would add some sugar and some yeast and cover it with a wet towel and let it rise for maybe a couple hours. And at the end, it's probably risen very well. The sugar helps the yeast to make the batter rise. And into it, I put an egg, a little bit of flour, a little bit of salt to taste, and a little bit, 1 teaspoon of butter, and then mix the whole thing and leave it for another maybe half an hour. And this is how it looks now. And this is the consistency I want. It shouldn't be too thick, it shouldn't be too thin.
Yeah.
This is how it is. And now I can start making the hoppers. And it's usually made in this little round bowl, and it's like a little wok. And as you are making it, I can show you. You twirl it around, so the batter that is on the edges will be crisp, and at the bottom will be soft, and it's very tasty.
And what I remember about these pans is you really need to use it over a flame stove. You can't use a conduction burner because how high the sides are, you need to make sure that it's all being evenly heated.
I want to make sure that the pan is warm enough, so I take a little bit in my finger, a little bit of the batter, and put it there. So it's sizzling, which means it's done. So I put this much batter into the pan, and then I swirl it around like that, and then there's a little bit of batter on the bottom, and that part will make it soft.
I see you got 4 pans going at once. Whenever I come over to her house, she always has. I walk in, it smells amazing. 4 pans going, all like roaring flames. Just, it's kind of wild. I can only focus on like one thing cooking at a time, but hoppers are multitasking. It's a family dish. You have to feed a crowd. And where do you find these pans? Is there a specific name for them, or?
They are called hopper pans, and you can buy it in the Sri Lankan stores, like in Washington DC. I think they have it, and some Indian stores might have them also, but
I know we also sell them on our Dr. Yum store. They're up there too. If anyone wants to purchase them, great pans. You don't necessarily need 4 going at once.
No.
It'll just take a little bit more time.
Yeah.
And how long do you usually cook these for?
See, I couldn't. So I put all 4, and then I go to the first one. I started and look at it, and here it's done.
It's already done. It's just a process, and we will be putting them all on this plate. We'll be serving everyone here, all however many of us that there are. I think there are 7 of us here today shooting, so we're all gonna have a great lunch/dinner. So, what's the cultural significance of hoppers? Like, how did you learn to make hoppers? How are hoppers usually eaten in Sri Lanka?
Usually hoppers are eaten with the curry. Actually, hoppers are mainly a breakfast, what you eat for breakfast. But nowadays people eat it for dinner also. When you are eating for dinner, then you make curry. Sometimes fish curry, sometimes tomato curry, and then also you make a stir-fried onion dish with onions and moldy fish, these little fish chips, and of course chili. You put chili in and everything. So when you are eating it for breakfast, they still use sometimes curry, but we used to, when we were children, we eat it with the coconut treacle that we find in Sri Lanka. It's like maple syrup.
Yeah. And do most people make hoppers, or do you buy them in the store? Or?
Yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, we had house help, and so we had made hoppers at home. We never went to a restaurant to eat hoppers. But nowadays people are busy with their, 2 people in the household going to work and everything. So there are hopper restaurants on the roadside, and you stop and get a bunch of hoppers and come home and use it, for dinner.
And I know one of our favorite ways to enjoy hoppers are the egg hopper.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say about the egg hopper, how it's made, or do you want to make one?
Yeah, I will make one as I'm doing this.
Okay.
So now I'm going to be making an egg hopper.
All right. So still swirling.
A little bit less, and then I crack an egg and put it in the middle. That's an egg hopper.
There's always a fight over the egg hoppers. There might be a million hoppers made, but it's one egg hopper for everyone
Yes.
at our house. And you always fight for if you want the runny egg or the cooked egg or which egg. Everyone has to touch the center, and you have to see how hard each of the eggs are and see which egg hopper you want.
Look at this. This is beautiful.
This is a very good one. It's constant motion. There's not a break of resting. Once one is done, the next one goes on.
Yes.
The swirling is like a crepe almost. When you put a crepe in a pan and you swirl it.
Yeah.
So I noticed that you were reading earlier off of, you have a recipe.
Yeah.
Do you want to show the recipe that you have?
Yeah. It's
And I know
all kind of scratches and everything.
I know that when I'm going off, I'm definitely going to have to take a lot of recipes. Myself, I'm probably going to use a program online where you can scan in recipes.
Yeah.
So I might take a photo of it on my phone and put it in the program, or scan it through. It's another good one. But I know that you and my mom, Dr. Yum, use cookbooks and use index cards and keep a log of recipes, because while shadowing like I'm doing here is very good for techniques, like seeing how she's twirling it and learning how all four are going when one's done, then usually once you finish the last one, then the next one is usually up. Recipes are very good to make sure you have the exact measurements, even when the measurements aren't that exact, like they're going on right now, where it's pinch of this, a little bit of that. Egg hopper?
Yes. This is the egg hopper.
Beautiful. And you know, when all of this is done, everyone has to make sure, like, ooh, this is this hard, or I like them super, super runny.
Yeah. I think your mother likes it super, super runny too, but Papa likes it well cooked.
Asa likes it well cooked.
Yeah.
My little brother Asa, he has to have the most cooked egg yolk. So now that most of our hoppers are done, we're going to transition back over and we're going to show you how to eat them. So we're back over here with our hoppers now, and before we start eating them, I really quickly want to talk about something we talked about at the stove, which was another way to take recipes in like a recipe book or on index cards. So I know my mom and ChiChi both have their matching recipe book and index card box.
Yes, this is my binder, and I was thinking something like this. It's kind of retro, but you could use some of these pages to kind of write down recipes. ChiChi can write some of her recipes for you. If you clip any recipes, you can just tuck them into these little pockets. Mine is very well loved and very well worn, but this is how I save a lot of my family recipes. And I think I took this with me to my first apartment when I moved out. So this is my way. ChiChi also has her recipe box.
Yeah.
This is really old school, like the old index cards.
Yeah, you can see some here. Show some of them. Got some different things going on.
Yeah, and those are actually
some of these
recipes.
are really old. Yeah,
those are from when I was really young. I think I wrote those in my middle school handwriting. And those, like you said, you could scan them too and make your own cards or make your own album.
I know.
So there's lots of ways to preserve.
ChiChi's pretty sure that this is also her book. Like,
No.
It's no coincidence that they match. They have to have the same origins somewhere.
This is my book. Let the record show. So.
Yeah, I know something that's I'm gonna probably experience is there's not many like half Sri Lankan, like half Southern, like Arkansas kids. So I know when I move out, I'm probably gonna meet a new community of friends and family there. So food like this is another way. Food can be very, very social. It's a way of bridging the gap between two different people. Stuff like this is another way to bring a part of my family into my new family. I'm definitely excited to bring these, whether I scan them in, whether, I don't know, maybe if I fly ChiChi out to wherever I'm going next to make hoppers so they can get like the really good ones. I'm definitely not as good as making hoppers.
I hear that this is one of the very favorite food in London. There are several Sri Lankan restaurants and they serve hoppers, and I hear they are very popular.
Hoppers are pretty trendy actually.
Yeah.
Do you want to show everybody how we eat hoppers?
Yeah. So I will give you...
So if you're really going to eat hopper Sri Lankan style, it's best if you eat them with your hands, because hoppers are all about dipping. So you want to be able to dip the hopper into all the little curries that you're eating. Where did ChiChi go?
Nothing. We're damage control a little bit. There was a forgotten hopper on back on the stove. It's fine.
Oh yeah, you can finish that off with a little bit
of
of salt and pepper.
I'm gonna get an egg hopper. So as I was talking about, you always have to touch. You have to see which one you like.
This one's mine.
Okay, you can have this one
mine.
because it's the runniest.
Yes, thank you.
This one's firm, but I can still. I'll take this one. I think this is the first one out. I will. Normally, you don't cut a hopper. We aren't like this, but I do want to show. Maybe we should cut yours because yours will use very well.
Yeah, we can do that.
Just show a little of the magic going on here.
Yeah, because the runniness, then you can dip into that. The
Yeah,
runny
you can
egg
see
yolk.
running a little bit. Ooh.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I'm probably going to get an egg hopper.
So you just break off a little piece and go on and dip. And you got everything like soaks up into the hopper.
Or I know you can also do, this is a little less traditional, but I'm also a little less traditional of a Sri Lankan. You can put a little bit on the inside too.
Yeah.
And that's another way to eat it. You don't have to put, usually you would have more than one curry. You'd have sambal and a whole bunch of other stuff that this is served with. You can put multiple,
Yeah.
But you can
Coconut,
also put some
grated
inside.
coconut curry is another good one.
You eat kind of taco style.
Oh yeah, that is non-traditional, but looks really efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Yummy.
Mm.
Ooh, this is a little bit spicy.
ChiChi was very.
I don't know.
We're getting a little serving action. It's a little Sri Lankan hospitality, making sure everyone has their food first. And that's definitely a thing. Our grandpa here, who is now in the background, who's now invading the video.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh.
His thing is that when we're in,
I think you were done.
his thing of when we're in the house is that he's the last one. He has to make sure everyone else gets food. We're all sitting down eating, and he's still standing up. Doesn't have a plate yet. It's very.
Yeah. I, of course, will be all done by the time he sits down.
Do you want to tell them what you call these
In Sinhalese?
Bitarap is egg hoppers. This is just plain appa. And this is takali curry. Takali is tomatoes.
Thank you, Mom and ChiChi, for coming here today. I know that some of the stuff that we said was really helpful for me, of what I'm going to be doing when I'm moving out. I hope that this was really helpful to our viewers out there as well. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any ideas this is the last episode for the series, actually, which is kind of sad. But if you have any idea for like a future series or topics that you might want covered in the future series, definitely leave it in the comments. Please share. The more people that this reaches, we just want this is more to help people. It's not for us to just like have fun and film something. We want to help people. So please share it with friends if you have someone that might be moving out themselves. Also, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook so you can see some of the other things that Dr. Yam has going on. Definitely subscribe so you can catch our future videos. See you, everyone.
Bye.
Okay.